So I copied and pasted this from the notes we had before because it still comes into play. We have to remember we can only simplify, aka cancel, when we're multiplying. Because there's going to be the temptation to be like, oh, can I cancel these x's? Absolutely not. In this situation, because we're not multiplying in between, we're adding. You are still able to check inside a fraction. Can you simplify 2 over 7? No. You can still check inside this one. Can you simplify 5 over 3? No. So sometimes you can still simplify within a fraction, but none of these ones you can. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to just delete that. There we go. So, also important to remember all your fraction rules. What are we doing here? We're adding fractions. How do you add fractions? Well, you need a common denominator. So I have 2x over 7 and plus 5 over 3x. I look at my denominators, and for one, I have to make the numbers the same. Can you see that the lowest common denominator with 7 and 3 would be 21? So we're going to have to multiply this one by 3 and this one by 7. I also noticed that there's an x in the second one, and there's not an x in the first one. So the first one needs an x as well. And again, when getting your common denominator, what I've written in green is actually fractions that are equal to 1. You're always allowed to multiply by 1 because it doesn't change what the fraction's equal to. It just changes how it looks. So now I'm going to successfully get 21x as a denominator here and 21x as a denominator there, with a plus sign still in the middle. On the top here, I'm going to get 6x squared and 7 times 5, 35. My final answer, 6x squared plus 35, because how do we add fractions once we get a common denominator? We add our numerators and keep the denominator the same. So we have to be really good at our fractions rules because now we're dealing with our fraction rules in sort of a more abstract way. So we have to know those fraction rules, and at this point, we still have to check, can I factor this? Is there a common factor in the top? No. There's nothing that can divide both 6 and 35. Okay? Can I simplify you are going to be so tempted to simplify your x's here. Remember that if you're adding, this gets grouped together as one big factor. And the only way you can simplify, the note at the beginning, is if we are multiplying and factors are identical. So if you try to simplify this 6x squared by itself with the 21x, that's not allowed because these are joined because they're adding as a single factor. And we can only simplify if we're multiplying and factors are identical. For part B, oh, and I guess the textbook at the bottom, if you're looking at it, it still lists the non-permissible values. Again, I will be explicit if I want you to do that. It's good practice. We'll do it right now for practice. But if it just said simplify, you'd be good enough with the answer right there. Part B, we have 4 over 5ab minus 3 over 4b squared. So I'm subtracting fractions. I take a look if any of these fractions could be reduced further, and they can't. I look at my numbers first and say, between 5 and 4, I need to multiply this one by 4 and this one by 5. With my variables, is there any variables missing in the first fraction? Well, the second one has a b squared, so the first one's going to need a b. The second one has the b squared, but it doesn't have the a, so it's going to need the a. Now when I multiply 4 times 5, I get 20, and I multiply my variables, I get 20ab squared. I always start with multiplying the bottoms out just to make sure they're the same, and they are. Because if all of a sudden you multiply them out and you realize, oh, I forgot something, or they're not quite the same, rather than wasting time multiplying the top out only to find you have to redo it, it's a good way to check. And then on the top here, I'm going to have 16b, and here I'm going to have 15a. So I'm going to get, in the end here, I have a common denominator, so now I can make one fraction and keep my common denominator the same. And I would have 16b minus 15a. Not bad to remind yourself that because it's subtracting, those things get grouped together. Those things get grouped together, and the only way you could simplify is if there was something identical to that whole thing on the bottom. And there's not, so this is our final answer. Again, non-permissible values here. A can't equal 0, and B can't equal 0, because that would cause you to divide by 0. Circle questions 3, 4, and 5.